We're back at one of our favorite Bay Area innovators, SynDaver, an advanced biotechnology company that creates synthetic humans and animals for medical testing and training. Joining us is Dr. David Danielson, Vice President of Veterinary Technology. He's here to tell us about their newly unveiled synthetic frog. Thanks for having us, Dr. Danielson.
My pleasure. I'm so glad you guys could come out and see my new addition to our synthetic line of animals, the synthetic frog. It's something that's near and dear to my heart.
For people who haven't maybe caught an episode or aren't familiar with SynDaver, give us a little overview.
Yeah, so SynDaver's been around now for about 15, a little bit more than 15 years. Over the last 4 years, I've joined to try to bring this technology into the veterinarian animal realm.
Initially, SynDaver's animal product line stemmed from the desire to put an end to canine euthanasia during medical training. An estimated 20 million animals, including frogs, cats, and earthworms, as well as other species, are euthanized for educational purposes every year in the U.S.
In an effort to reduce the amount of live animals used, SynDaver produces realistic canine, feline, and equine models for its use in veterinary training. The new frog model is designed for use in biology classroom dissections.
It removes a barrier. So a lot of times going into biology in middle school, high school, it was historically necessary to sacrifice an animal in order to learn anatomy, specifically comparative anatomy. And it's almost like a rite of passage, the dissection of the frog. If anyone has had interest or even, has been exposed to biology, they've done the frog. And as we all have learned, it really is not a platform where you can learn anatomy very well.
Historically, dissecting a frog was a necessary lesson in biology classes during middle and high school. Unfortunately, the method of preserving the specimens with formaldehyde resulted in discolored tissues and a toxic smell.
The reality here is we wanted to create a superior product, one that would give you the same textural feel and allow you to do the dissection, but you have the vibrance of a live animal so that you can identify the different organs and really actually learn on this platform. This tissue is something that our CEO, Christopher Zackley, has developed, and it contains water, salt, and fibers. The beauty of it is that in the way that we manipulate it, you can mimic any tissue. With the frog, we've been able to manipulate it to create the skin texture, the organs, everything, so it cuts and behaves like a live frog or a recently deceased frog, as opposed to the formalin or formaldehyde-fixed frog, which really texturally isn't even right. Another kind of reason behind wanting to do this, my own daughter refused to do dissection in class, and so in that kind of mindset, I wanted to have something that students who might otherwise feel morally concerned about having an animal sacrifice don't have to. And they will actually, I think, get a superior learning experience because of the realism that we're able to create.
Frog dissection is about more than just specific anatomy. Dissection also teaches the proper use of instrumentation, observation, notation, cataloging, and more.
It's really about going through the process, being able to dissect. It's also learning how to properly use instruments, how to go through the process so that you can kind of become better scientists in the end.
These new models are already being tested in classrooms, and instructors have noted a significant rise in the level of engagement from students.
They took it all apart. They were learning, they were excited, and it just removed that barrier. So I think this really is revolutionary in that it will open up opportunities for students who otherwise would not do it.
Furthermore, these frogs are entirely reusable. SynDaver makes a separate puck which can be placed in the main cavity to serve the next student.
The puck is a cost-saving measure which places the Syn Frog in the same price bracket as a traditionally preserved frog.
So here we're going to dissect the Syn Frog, and just to express the external aspect to it, you have your nares, you have your eyes, you have the tongue, of course the glottis, basically the eustachian tubes in the back, the ear. And so to dissect, after identifying the anatomy external, we flip and we pin it down, which you get to see kind of what the students would see. I'm going to make my first incision into the frog, and we're going to cut with our scissors as well. And there's fluid in there, just like there would be in the real frog. So we're going to open this up and dissect that out, and then pin that back. The peritoneal sac, and then you can start to identify some of the organs on the inside, specifically the liver and the GI tract. So we'll kind of open this up and start pulling stuff out.
The anatomy of the Syn Frog precisely follows the curriculum for students in biology.
You can open the frog You have all the organs, you can take them out, you can identify them. You can tell also anatomically, externally, the eyes, the ears, all the internal organs as far as the mouth as well, all is there. And then we even have the skeleton there. So again, if your desire would be to take this all the way into anatomy of the skeleton, you can dissect through the muscle down to the skeleton and identify those bones as well.
Mitchell High School in Pasco County, Florida was the first to utilize the SynDaver frog.
Well, I think the sky's the limit as far as what SynDaver can develop and provide.
Oh.
Think about all the different makes and models of animals that are used for dissection.
If you dream it, we can build it. And to that point, our goal now is to replace all dissection.
Since the release of the frog, they've started planning other models too, such as an annelid worm or earthworm, a starfish, and a bull shark.
And we can do so with such realism that putting them side by side, my goal is to make it superior to the animal that's currently being used.
All of SynDaver's models are produced entirely in-house and hand-assembled by skilled craftsmen.
What we do here is we are able to cast, and each one basically is assembled by hand. For now, we are starting to try to think about automation and getting the process down, again, to bring the cost down. And it's a matter of taking and creating each piece and then putting it together.
Currently, they're able to produce hundreds of frog models per week, but hope to ramp up production with automation in the very near future.
Syn tissue models provide a safer environment for teachers and students as they are stored in plain water, thus removing exposure to the dangerous chemicals needed for preserving a research specimen. Using proper storage techniques also ensures the models will last virtually forever.
Another benefit to their longevity is their ability to reference the anatomy at a later time. For example, a student can take the model home after class and continue to study the specimen, whereas a formaldehyde frog begins to deteriorate almost immediately. They're so realistic, they look like they could jump right off the table.
The look is really what we're going for, but I don't know that you've touched one yet, but the textural,
Not yet.
yeah, you should. The textural consideration is really the amazing part. You can create a visual consideration even with, silicone or rubber or something, but it's having that real feel, that slimy, that real feel. And not even that, but even the cut is real. It kind of behaves just like real tissue. So you can cut and you can suture. In this case, it really enhances the dissection.
Well, because it creates empathy. You look at them and they look like living, breathing
Exactly.
frog.
To find more information about how your school or future young scientist can benefit from these amazing new technologies, visit SynDaver.com.
Well, not only saving animal lives, but also helping educate.
Creating the next generation of scientists.
That's our goal.
Yes.
I really want to have students I would like to have others that become veterinarians seeing this and just get passionate about animals and then moving forward to get into the profession or become biologists or doctors. But I think this is the first step.
And having that hands-on experience, because you had mentioned in the past that even when you become a veterinarian, sometimes you're practicing for the first time
Absolutely.
on live animals as they come to your facility.
And this will allow students to learn a technique on how to cut and all. And we're even hopeful that it might now allow us to even engage earlier. So the barriers before are gone. I mean, you couldn't have younger students dealing with these types of things, but now you can. So there is hope that we can train quicker and have students, even in the high school level, get to experience things that otherwise they'd have to be in college to experience.
Consistently being on the cutting edge of developing synthetic biological tissue, both human or otherwise, has elevated SynDaver to a whole new level of medical training for aspiring scientists and students around the world, and saving countless lives in the process. Make sure you stay tuned. Coming up after the break, a story of recovery.